Committee public hearing for the inquiry into the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism and event sectors continues. Please ensure that mobile phones are switched to silent and that any background noise is minimised. I wish to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I wish to welcome any members of the public that are watching via the live broadcast. My name's Emma Erdogan and I'm chair of the committee, and I'd like to introduce my fellow committees that are present here with us today. Mr. Andy Medic, Ms. Beverly MacArthur, Mr. Rod Barton, Mr. Mark Jebb, Ms. Wendy Lovell, Mr. Tim Quilty, Dr. Catherine Cumming, Mr. Lee Talamas and Mr. David Davis. All evidence taken at this hearing is protected by parliamentary privilege as provided by the Constitution Act 1975 and further subject to provisions of the Legislative Council standing orders. Therefore, the information you provide during this hearing is protected by law. However, any comment prepared outside the chamber or outside the hearing may not be protected. Any deliberately false evidence or misleading of the committee may be considered the contempt of Parliament. All evidence is being recorded. You'll be provided for proof version of the transcript following the hearing. Ultimately, all transcripts will be made available on the committee's website. We welcome your opening comments, but ask they be kept to a maximum of 5 to 10 minutes to allow plenty of time for discussion and questions. Could you please begin by stating your name for the Hansard team and then start your presentation? Over to you, Jamie.
Thank you so much. I'm Jamie Lee, and good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Before I begin, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands I'm speaking from today, the Yorta Yorta people and the clans whose lands cover the area now called Greater Shepparton. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. I'd also like to publicly thank Save Victorian Events, I should say, for getting us to this point. I appreciate the huge work that's been done to get us here and making sure our industry doesn't die a silent death. Even from Shepparton, I felt quite comforted knowing that they were out there pushing forward when things felt hopeless, and I certainly didn't feel so alone. So thank you to them. I'm quite conflicted sitting here today. I don't just wish to talk about myself because, this is a community and a village that I certainly live in and work in. But after consulting with many in the region, it was even more obvious that we've mostly had similar experiences. I will speak mostly about the GV or Shepparton and from an artistic and creative point of view. Myself, Jamie Lee, I wear many hats. I'm the creative director of the Shepparton Festival. I own my own events and production and styling business, Jail Productions. I'm a musician. I'm a mother of 2 very young children, and I sit on multiple community organisations, committees and boards. In any one day, I may be an MC at an event. The next day, I might be styling, using the props I have here in my warehouse. I could be working on another festival, stage managing or coordinating the artists. I might be up early on ABC radio, talking about what's happening all over the region. Another festival, I'm the box office manager and volunteer coordinator. On the weekend, I could be singing with my band, and back at work, I may travel to consult community groups on their grassroots festivals, or I could be running a food festival in the Shepparton CBD for 15,000 people. Many in the industry are the same. You can hopefully understand that we're multi-talented because we have to be, but also because we can be. That's the beauty of this industry. Personally, I come to you as a committee member of the Goulburn Regional Partnership, a paying member of the Kaila Gallery. I'm a member of the Sam Museum, a paying member of Tourism Greater Shepparton and the Shep Chamber of Commerce, plus Music Victoria. I was Young Australian of the Year for the Goulburn Valley for my volunteer work. As I said, I've got 2 children under 6 and a husband from Scotland who's also a musician. To start, I'd like to paint you a picture. March 2020, as many have said, was a day of absolute decimation and incredibly triggering for me. So apologies if I do get emotional because this is my life. This is all that I do. March 2020, the Shepparton Festival. It was the 24th Shepparton Festival, one of the longest running consecutive arts festivals in the state. As a not-for-profit festival, we are partially funded by our local council, Regional Arts Victoria and our sponsors. Our team works part-time on the specific festival, as do many in the industry, as we have other projects, and I run my own events company. The festival was 12 months in the making, but 24 years of momentum, energy, and countless volunteered hours. It was meant to be 21 days, 70 events, 200 artists and 40 venues. Dig a little deeper. That's over 200 volunteers, stakeholders in the thousands, from the funders through to the business owners, contractors, and our anticipated 25,000 attendees and audience. Besides the obvious social benefits, we know for a fact that the festival brings jobs and money to our town. The festival recently commissioned an external group to conduct an economic impact assessment, and their report indicated that the festival brought $1.6 million to the town and contributed 11 full-time equivalent jobs. As this equals just one festival in regional Victoria. All of this. We make our own fun and entertainment in the country. We don't have the same options the big city has, but I would argue we appreciate and value what we do have so much more. We often travel to our neighbouring towns like Echuca, Benalla, Cobram or Euroa because we all offer something unique and individual to the huge, due to the huge difference in the population, attractions and community spirit. In the GB, our events calendar is overflowing. Anything from huge sporting tournaments to equestrian shows to thousands coming to town for live music events or even the spring car nats. It takes a special kind of human to work in the events industry. Many give it a try and then they go down another career path. That's okay. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. We are a different bunch. We thrive on late nights or no sleep at all. Pressure and stress are very, very normal. We battle with the weather gods. We take financial risks. We work every weekend and public holiday. We never switch off. We volunteer or work for next to nothing because, well, I say we're selfish. Or maybe that's just me. I know that myself and many others in this industry love what we do. We enjoy what we do. We're proud of what we do. We're good at it. I guess that's my selfish part. I don't want to do anything else because it makes me happy. To make others happy, to be part of creating a sense of pride and belonging, to make our town an exciting place to visit, to give others a voice and a platform. That's what gets me out of bed every day. Then, COVID. After 15 years of working in the industry, from picking up rubbish at my local Battle of the Bands, to cleaning toilets at a little bush tuff just down the road in Tokemore, to working in the mud and rain at Splendour in the Grass, to working with hundreds of volunteers at Meredith Music Festival, vomiting more often than not due to morning sickness, serving thousands in the box office at Riverboats Music Festival in Echuca, breastfeeding my newborn, to working side of stage as artist liaison at Tassie Falls, with that newborn being one, to right here at home, where I live, where I bring up my family, as creative director of the Shepparton Festival, my dream job, to nothing. To 12 months of nothing. It's an empty, hopeless, constant feeling of sadness. It's more than distressing to watch your life's work burn. My team, who I've trained up for years, move on and find other work. The attendees who I've connected with become family, become friends, become the community in the village I love, disconnect and invest their support, their time and money into something else. We spend years on marketing, engagement and brand awareness, getting out our info out to punters so they believe in us and what we do, and poof, gone. I wish I could truly explain to you what that feels like. Sitting here, it's like giving my own eulogy, talking at my own funeral. But it's not just mine, it's my entire industry. 15 years, half of my life, for what? Seriously, for what? For it to happen all over again this week. The Shepparton Festival moved for the first time in 25 years to June. So we could miss COVID. We took an educated guess, a bet if you wish, and moved to June in the hope that the majority of humans would be vaccinated and we could deliver the 25th Shepparton Festival to thousands. So again, here we are in 2021 and I'm holding in my hands the 25th Shepparton Festival program. 17 days, 50 plus events, 250 plus artists, 25 plus venues. We're meant to open in 10 days. What are we going to do? Yes, we may have work towards and anticipated some kind of COVID issue. We have to now. That's a part of our life, just like power outages and weather and rain and all the other risks that we have to factor into this high pressure, intense job. But now COVID, this is something I can't control. My team can't control. You can't control. I can pray to the weather gods. I can put up a marquee. I can put on more security. But I cannot do anything about this when you shut me down and shut down another year's worth of work. Resilience, determination, effort, energy, gone down the drain. Now, I'm not personally blaming anybody. I'm not personally attacking anybody, but you can understand my frustration. So to finish up, the 3 points I'd really like to push to yourselves and everybody watching today is education and understanding for our sector and COVID. Awareness for the powers that be. I'll give you a couple of examples. JL Productions was one of the first events to come out of the gates in January. We were so proud. We were terrified, but we were proud to be able to do it. That's another positive of living regionally. We could do it. I had the police, the senior sergeant here locally, call me 4 times in 1 week to tell me to shut down, stop, enough, done. You're not running this event. And I, as a female, a young female in this industry, living in regional Victoria, running my own business, had to politely and in a very professional but terrified manner explain to somebody in a position of power who I respect, no, your information is incorrect. I do not have to shut down. I have my permission, my permits and everything else in place to deliver an event. I'm allowed to do this 4 times. That is pressure, stress, anxiety, sleepless nights. I then paid for a COVID marshal to attend, multiple days and times and extra than what I needed to do because I was so scared. I then employed more security. That comes out of my pocket. He still gets paid every day. He still goes to, gets his job done. I lose money out of my pocket because I'm scared that he's going to walk into my event with hundreds and hundreds of people and shut us down. I don't need that. Nobody needs that. And that's only because I understand the pressure and intensity of his work, and he may not have known the rules that day, that week, that month. Don't blame that person. Again, it's a part of his job, but unnecessary on my behalf. The second point is the communication and guidance from the government for our industry. It's like mud. Now, I work for myself. Yes, I have team members. They're all contractors. But really, I'm the one here making the decisions, and especially on the JL production side of things. And if without Save Victorian Events and without the people in the industry who are now close friends and people that I hardly knew 12 months ago, I would have had no idea and no capacity staying at home with my children during a pandemic and juggling those responsibilities to then get through to the other side. That communication and guidance from the government comes in many different forms, and I'm sure that's all being suggested to you. I've watched people today and read transcripts previously, and I'm really grateful for their input and their guidance and advice. My third one would be awareness and value for events. We have a huge, huge impact on the mental health and well-being of our communities. You know this. I'm sure you know this, and you're all very aware of this. We give humans something to look forward to inspire to. We ignite their wish and want to engage and contribute and communicate and connect. We give them a reason to get out of bed or leave the house. I know that as humans on this planet that we weren't born to work and die. Events gather people together and they create joy. My life's work is about bringing people together, creating joy and comfort and connection that I value more than anything. I'd like to thank everyone else who's spoken before me and who's speaking after me. And I'd really like to acknowledge that together we are stronger. And I'm really proud of all of you for your resilience and your determination. And I'm sad for those who've shut down. I'm sad for those who've left the industry, and to the few of us who can push on and will push on. I'm sure that together we can do great things after all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you to explain the journey of your company, JL Productions and Hire, throughout the pandemic and more broadly the sector. I might just pass on because I'm acutely aware of the time, but I might start with Miss Lovell, Quilty, then Talamas. And if we don't get a chance to go through the whole 10 members of the committee, we might have to maybe send you some questions. And if you have time, if you could respond, that'd be helpful. So Miss Lovell, Quilty, then Talamas.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you for your presentation this morning, and thank you for everything you do for our community to make it a much better and much more enjoyable place to be. You mentioned Ship Festival, due to open on Friday the 11th of June. We've just had an announcement from the government that although regional Victoria will open up to travel, subject to further cases being put in place or further cases coming online next week, that metropolitan Melbourne people won't be able to travel into regional Victoria on the long weekend. So I'm just wondering what that will do to your festival, what the visitation numbers from metropolitan Melbourne usually are to the Shep Festival, and whether you have any insurance or whether anyone underwrites the festival for the losses that you may incur.
Sure, some of those I can answer and some of them I can't. But I'm happy to get that information back through to you, as always, Wendy.
Thanks.
Look, yes, a substantial part of this program is made up of people from interstate. We have artists travelling from all over the country to attend and engage and participate in the festival. We also have a large majority of people who travel regionally and from Melbourne. So it's about a third of our guide is coming from interstate or Melbourne to participate in this festival and produce this festival. As I mentioned to those who may have forgotten, there is 17 days. So when I say festival, there are 50 plus events inside of this one big festival. There are many umbrella events. So, for example, the Affinity Quartet are coming down from Melbourne. We have a projection artist coming down from Melbourne. There are skills here and there are creatives here who are, very much involved in this. But there are some things that a point of my job as creative director is to bring in something different, something thought-provoking, something that will move you and inspire here locally. A part of our job is to facilitate locals' development and their opportunities. So to bring people from all over the state and all over the country is really important to this guide. Now, we will go on regardless, Wendy. We have anticipated some sort of COVID. So to the best of our ability, we will produce a festival this year. Unlike last year when we launched the festival and 2 days later we were shut down. That was out of our hands and we had no idea what COVID was at that point in time. But we have a huge visitation, Wendy, as I mentioned, 25,000 plus attendees over that 17-day period. Post most festivals, we certainly get survey results and then we share that with our stakeholders and our funding bodies. But I would say at least a third of that 25,000 people would come from the big city. Another third would come from all over the region from, we advertise in Yarrawonga and Benalla and further towards Bendigo and whatnot. So, for me, a huge part of my job is to engage here locally, that we have a 65,000 population in this municipality. And every year we are engaging more and more here locally. But you can understand that out of town money and that travel and that buzz and excitement of a festival, it's a huge part of people coming to the region.
No, thank you. Mr. Quilty.
All right. In previous hearings, we've been talking about what the government would do if there was another lockdown, but obviously we're in the lockdown now. What can the government do immediately to help your industry, the events industry, your festival, and what steps should the government take to do differently next time we get locked down?
Sure, thank you. Gosh. We've been through this before, haven't we? This isn't our first rodeo. And I wonder how important we are, how important that community engagement and that connection and the economic impact and the mental health impact truly is, because I do feel like as events and an events company that we were forgotten about. I don't wish to, I guess, have a negative. I always try to be very positive, so I don't wish to be negative. But when the cricket is on, when the footy is on, when the tennis is on, that is a real kick in the teeth. That is a huge kick in the teeth, because arts and culture is the thing that keeps us alive, especially during lockdown. Most of you would have watched Netflix. Most of you would have listened to music. Most of you would have read books. That is my world and my life. So I can respect the importance of sport and what that does for our economy. I would argue that we are the same. So I would say an equal playing field. I would say better communication and awareness for our community. The amount of times, the inconsistent messaging about, oh, you can have a farmer's market in Yarrawonga with 1,000 people, but I can't put on an event. I can't have a show. I have a warehouse here in Shepparton, but I can't run events here. That's not how it works. All of my events, whether it's the Secret Garden gigs, where we tour to people's backyards all over regional Victoria, or we go to the Dookie Quarry, where we have, around 1,000 people attend over multiple days. They are unique and boutique and special. That's the point of events. I don't have my own venue. I make venues. That's how it works. So, I mean, when you've got thousands of people at the MCG because there's a venue, I can do that. I can do something. But when my hands are tied, and I'm left to feel like my contribution and my work and the effect that I'm having on our community and our region is null and void, it's disheartening. And you wonder why, what the point is, truly. The government could do better by support. I will acknowledge that I did receive a $10,000 grant as Jail Productions and Hire, and I also got JobKeeper. And I promise you, if neither of them had happened, I would definitely be shut. Without a doubt would be shut, because I'm not in this industry to make money, and it's never been about money for me. We live completely off my husband's wage, and all of my money that I make goes back into the business.
Thank you for that. I might pass over to Mr. Talamas.
Thank you, Jamie, for your very, very comprehensive presentation. It was very thorough, and thank you for your suggested solutions to some of the issues. It was very, very, very passionate, and your passion clearly comes through in your presentation today. You've articulated it very well in terms of the issues that have impacted on you and some of the solutions that you're proposed. I don't have a question as such, but I just wanted to thank you.
No problem. We might probably have time for one final question before the lunch break. I might pass over to Dr. Cumming, and then on that point, I know Mr. Barton, Mr. Davis, Mr. MacArthur, Mr. Medic, we're not going to get an opportunity, Mr. Jepp, to get to all of you, so we'll put the other questions on notice. So Dr. Cumming to ask the final question, and myself, I also have a question, but I'll put on notice.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jamie Lee, for your very heartfelt presentation. I felt for you, and we do understand what it must be like for you at this time. So my question to you, Jamie, is, do you believe your event could have actually still gone ahead with great COVID-safe plans and guidelines that could have kept your staff and the public safe? And do you believe that more people could have actually been trained, and the community also, in aseptic techniques, in other words, other ways of making sure that they understand, the COVID-safe way ahead in keeping themselves safe and others? Is there more that the government can do in the way of their medical messaging that is clear and consistent? And I also acknowledge the Save Events Victoria. I think they've done a wonderful job in connecting you guys. And yes, and I feel for you. Shepparton, 25 years, it must be just heartbreaking for you.
Thank you so much. I thought I'd make it all the way to the end without getting too emotional, but
Jamie, it's all right, because that's how it's okay to feel like that. You gave an extremely passionate contribution, and we are all here for you, Jamie.
No, thank you, Jamie. Like I said, don't feel on that point, I just want to say, I think, your honesty and candor about your own experiences showing through, and we understand that it's not just the financial toll, but also the emotional and the effort. And I was amazed at the diverse range of roles undertaken, the multi-talented people not only in your business but across the sector. So I just want to say thank you again for contributing and showing the courage to come and appear before today's hearing. I will be in contact with you, and the committee will, the Secretariat will. I know a number of committee members do have questions. I see they're nodding, and yeah, we just want to share our thoughts with you. But
Chair,
yes,
I just wonder if we could help Jamie by suggesting that we might be able to ask the Chief Health Officer or whoever to give her some surety of those performers that need to come from Melbourne or technical assistance. If they had perhaps 2 negative tests, would they be able to come into the area to work for her, if we might be able to make some representation on her
there's
behalf?
There's been a whole bunch of announcements in I've obviously not been able to follow them because we're online here, and I guess we'll take that offline. And if you do have any queries, we're obviously always happy to follow up and try to seek guidance for any really, as we do that as members of Parliament anyway in our role. So I'm happy to follow that up. But on that point, I think I might maybe now conclude the hearing for now and it's our lunch break now.